All right, let's turn to local politics now, and Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull is facing pressure for a royal commission into power prices. The Greens will hold talks with both Labor and coalition backbenchers about a plan for an inquiry into excessive profiteering in the energy sector.
And a group of coalition MPs is also urging Malcolm Turnbull to threaten the electricity retailers with the Royal Commission unless they act quickly to cut prices. Let's bring in the Senators, Pauline Hanson and Derryn Hinch. Morning to you both. Derryn, should there be a Royal Commission into electricity prices?
No. Look, you've got ASIC, you've got other government authorities. Surely they should be able to take care of things like cartels and price gouging and price fixing, etc., etc. Royal Commissions can cost hundreds of millions of dollars. We've had a lot of them. The old joke used to be, never call a Royal Commission unless you know the answer. But in this case, no, I don't think it's necessary. I think that I may be being optimistic. I think the NEG is probably going to work, and I think that's the way they should be going. But certainly put pressure on the power companies, but I don't think a Royal Commission is necessary at this stage.
Pauline, what do you reckon? Derryn has a bit of a point. We had the ACCC and all these sorts of things that are meant to be doing this anyhow.
Look, I don't believe there should be a Royal Commission into the electricity prices. The price gouging is coming from the Queensland State Government, Palaszczuk, because 47% of the bill is actually through cost of poles and wires. So that's your bill, 47% on poles and wires. And the State Government is gouging about $2 billion out of the pockets of families and businesses here in Queensland. What I'd like to see a Royal Commission, and of course it costs millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, but I'd like to see a Royal Commission into the Family Law Courts and Family Law Act first and foremost. That's where you've got people losing their lives, murder been happening, especially what's happened with the 2 teenage kids. And I think the law courts, and you've got suicides that are happening, and just about every person in Australia is affected by the Family Law Act. And I think that's where we need a Royal Commission, and that's what I'll be taking to the Prime Minister.
Right.
Oh,
okay. All right. Well, good luck, Pauline, because you were quite instrumental in the banking one, which finally got up. So,
do you agree with that, Derryn?
Yes, I do. Pauline and I have talked about this way back when we both first got into the Senate, and I know that they're trying hard. The Attorney General is amalgamating the courts, trying to streamline the family courts, but you've still got situations now where it's taking 3 and 4 years for family court issues that are being contested to even get before the courts. So I think that Pauline's right on this one.
It does sound like it needs a massive overhaul. All right. Moving on. Leaked Liberal polling, remember that? Leaked Liberal polling shows a slump in support for Labor leader Bill Shorten in 3 of the key seats where by-elections will be held later on this month. And he's particularly on the nose with young female voters. Pauline, why do you think Bill Shorten is a turn-off for young women?
He's not been able to sell his message. He doesn't come across as warm and is really interested. Look, I've said this about Bill Shorten, is that I've had meetings with him. I don't trust him. He doesn't come across genuine to me, and that's just my personal feeling. And I'm a woman of the older category, of course, but that's how people feel. He's just not a leader that people trust.
Okay, is Malcolm, do you get the same feeling about Malcolm, or are you confident in him?
No, I've got a different feeling when I talk to the Prime Minister. He really is genuine, and he does listen to me. You know, he is really concerned. Do I think he's the best leader for the country? No, I don't. But, you know, I just feel that he does listen. He's more approachable. I just feel that Bill Shorten's there for Bill Shorten. Bill Shorten's not interested in this country whatsoever. He's come from university to, you know, straight into the unions, and I just don't think, and into politics, he's not a grassroots person, and it's showing up in the polls. I've been in Caboolture for 4 days, and the feeling towards Labor has actually changed. They are sick and tired of both the major political parties. It's going to be quite interesting, Longman.
Yeah, I agree. What's going to happen with these by-elections? Derryn, Jenny Macklin is retiring. I think she's been in Parliament for 35 years, or been in politics for 35 years. And she has called on the party not to dump Bill Shorten, whatever happens at the by-elections. Do you think anyone will listen to her on that?
I don't think they will. With Bill Shorten, I remember after the 2016 election, senior government ministers told me that they regretted the decision by the tacticians not to go after Bill Shorten personally. That's what you're seeing them do now in in the by-elections. They thought they should have gone harder, but they've been told by the pollsters don't do it. In the case of Jenny Macklin, I had a bit of a smile over the weekend. I saw a very glowing text message from Julia Gillard about Jenny Macklin and what a wonderful person she was. And yet I thought, didn't Julia Gillard knife Jenny Macklin when she was Kim Beazley's deputy, when Kevin Rudd took over as leader and Julia Gillard became his deputy? So I tell you, there's not much love lost there.
Don't you all knife each other at some point?
We don't. I don't.
Yeah.
Pauline doesn't.
Oh, you reckon?
I reckon. Listen, but with Bill Shorten, he does have a problem. He does have a problem with some of the voters. I think the Libs would be happy, though. They should try and keep Shorten there, but I think Albo would be a far tougher competitor in the general election, which I still think will be next year, no matter what happens in the by-elections. Because Albo, you remember, he won the vote of the party membership when Bill Shorten got the leadership through the political vote.
Well, I find that fascinating, that polling that says Shorten's on the nose with women. That's really interesting.
But it is Liberal polling, and they don't reveal how many people were questioned or where it was or anyhow.
So when it gets leaked, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. When it's to your advantage. What about this? Tony Abbott has questioned whether Australia should continue to support the Paris Agreement on climate change in the absence of the US. Darren, should we back out or should we be taking a leadership role?
We should not back out. We're trying now, the new thrust of Australia is we want to be leaders in the Pacific, right? We want to be a big player in the Pacific. What message will we be sending about climate change if we pull out of an accord that Tony Abbott signed? And it wasn't an aspiration. It was a deal we did. Look, you can argue, and I would argue against the 50% target in a short term. And I'm not anti-coal, don't get me wrong, but I think we must stay in the Paris Accord. I think Tony Abbott is a wrecker, and right now he should do the right thing and announce he's not standing for Warringah at the next election.
Pauline, should we honour the Paris Agreement? You know, America's pulled out. You know, is it going to get anything done, the Paris Agreement? No?
No, I'm sorry. You got this one wrong. You got this one wrong, Darren. Yes, we should pull out of it because it is destroying our country. They're tying the emissions to the energy policy, which is so wrong. And I'm telling you now, if we don't get out of this, we're losing industries, manufacturing, and it's destroying businesses here. I went to Meals and Wheels on the weekend. It's costing them $5,500 a month on electricity and $400 a week for gas. They can't keep continuing that way. You've got a small takeaway business, $14,000. You've got an RSL club in towns for $550,000. You've got pubs in Longreach around about $20,000 electricity. Wake up to yourselves. If we pull out of it, what the hell's going to happen to us? And they're saying, well, we can reduce our emissions trading by doing a deal and buying carbon credits from another country overseas at $23 a tonne. This whole thing is destroying our country, and the economics in this country are going down the tube. So wake up to ourselves. We owe no one anything. We don't have the emissions here like other countries do. They're building coal-fired power stations when they're doing nothing here and destroying our own country. I'm with Tony Abbott and the Libs all the way on this, the ones that are jacking up, and we need to do something because I tell you what, we're destroying ourselves, and you think we won't become a third world country, think twice because we will with these policies.
I'm glad we disagree on something, Pauline. That's good.
And we're in our 27th consecutive year of positive
Darren.
economic growth.
I don't hear you half the time.
So
I'm glad we disagree on something.
Okay, Senators.
It really is with the emissions trading scheme. They go on about climate change. Climate change is happening, but it's not because of these carbon emissions. What they're they're purporting.
Okay.
Look to the facts.
All right, Senators. Thank you for that.